Yeah, it's a pleasure to introduce our next company. It's one of the fastest growing SaaS platforms for supplier financing, transforming every invoice into a revenue opportunity through automating and maximizing supplier discounts. Some of the most innovative brands in the world rely on this company, including Coca-Cola, Consolidated, Pfizer, Hallmark, and many other Fortune 500 companies. Let us please welcome Taulia to the stage.
I have no idea which one of these works, so we'll find this out. Thank you very much, everybody. So, good afternoon. We are here today to talk to you about fixing the global financial supply chain. And you might say, actually, it works okay, but most of us know that since 2008, the way in which liquidity flows through banks, through large companies and their suppliers has changed fundamentally. So we're going to offer you this afternoon one way in which large companies and their suppliers can start to address this issue. So, my name is Matthew Stammers. I'm the European Marketing Director for Taulia. With me I have...
Yeah, hello, my name is Martin Quenzel. I'm one of the co-founders of Taulia and really proud to be here and to be considered as a rising star. Welcome.
Right, we'll see if this one works. Ah, fantastic. So,
Second
Martin, we're going to do a bit of a double out this afternoon. So, Martin, a quick bit about the company. Where do we come from?
Yeah, where do we come from? The four founders, Germans, but we set up the company in San Francisco, so two of us already been living there. We have a history in B2B. We started a company before that was on-premise, very SAP focused. That's where I started my career, for example. And now then in 2009, 2010, actually went into SaaS models, cloud, and would like to actually offer more from connecting businesses. Matt tells you more now.
Okay, thanks very much. And we're with Mike as well, so superb. So to date, Taulia's got over 75 customers globally. And Martin, what links these customers together? What is it that drives them to adopt the Taulia solution?
I think what them links, if you see, there is not every industry, every kind of a vertical is here included. If it is retail, if it is automotive, if it is utility, what they have in common is a supplier base. Large suppliers, medium suppliers, small suppliers all around the world, and those suppliers are really important for them. It's just not the size, but also what they provide, and that's why they consider Taulia to invest in their supply chain.
Okay, great. And let's go back to what is the core problem that we're trying to solve. And the core problem is quite simply this. Large international, multinational organizations are trying to extend their payment terms, they're trying to withhold payment, they're trying to build their working capital, and they're trying to drive down costs. In complete contrast to that, small supplying organizations are desperate for liquidity. So you have this big tug of war between buyers and suppliers, and I don't want to pay as a big buyer, I want to build my working capital. And I, as a supplier, desperately need my money, not just so that my business can actually innovate and grow, but often just for survival. So how do we start to address this? And what is some of the rationale behind this? So if you look at large buying organizations, so since 2008, they have been building their cash on their balance sheet. And this is a really nice report from the Financials Times. So as of December 2014, European large buying organizations were holding more than $1 trillion on their balance sheet. And you can understand why they're doing that because of the global economic environment. But then what do you do with that cash? Well, if you take that cash and if you put it in a bank deposit, so the ECB currently is offering you minus 0.2%. So as a large buying organization, you are paying to put your money into the bank. And yet I've just told you that these small suppliers desperately need cash. So how do we start to square this circle? And this problem is recognised by governments around the world. So here's a really nice slide just talking about the supply chain finance scheme that was introduced in the UK back in 2012, where Cameron recognised that we desperately need to get cash from large buying organisations to small suppliers. The same was true with Obama and Supplier Pay this year. And right now we have a programme called Betaal Me Nu, hopefully I've not said that too badly, which is the Dutch Pay Me Now scheme, which is focused on releasing €2.5 billion worth of liquidity to small suppliers over the next 3 to 5 years. So a well-recognised problem. And how do we start to kind of solve this, Martin? So where do we look to in terms of solution to square the problem, as it were, square the loop?
It's, I think, the natural cloud approach, connecting every supplier with those big buying organizations and give them the opportunity to get paid earlier. And with a multitude of options, different funding sources, different models, how they can get paid earlier, what they actually would like to get funded. That is the complex picture, if you look at it, which no one really was able to solve before, big banks, factoring, and so on, where we find a model which fits for everyone.
And the model really comes with a big enabling technology, and that enabling technology is e-invoicing. And e-invoicing does two core things. And the first thing it does is for large buying organizations is it enables the acceleration of the invoice coming in from the supplier, reducing errors and getting that approved much more quickly. But more excitingly, what it does is by getting that invoice approved quickly is that you can then potentially offer that invoice out for early payment to the supplier, thus giving them the liquidity that they need. And Martin, just talk us through this a little bit more. So how do we do that?
How do we do that is, what that slide shows you is a little bit complex maybe, is it shows you the suppliers ordered by size on the left side, the big suppliers on the right side, the small suppliers, typically big corporates, like you have seen on our slide before. They have a few hundred big suppliers representing something like 70% of the spend, and thousands of suppliers representing the other around 30%. And where financing solutions struggled in the past was that they've been focusing on the top ones. And those top suppliers typically do not have issues with getting something financed, getting money, getting capital. They look for optimizing their working capital, and they may sit as well as the big buying organization on a mountain of cash. So what we do here with our platform, secrets here is automate it, integrate, connect businesses, and find a way really to do that automated and find the right offer that every supplier can participate. It's just a one mouse click solution to get an invoice paid earlier, and that is the miracle here, that we have really the technology to reach out to all suppliers.
So hopefully by now what you're starting to see is that we have a solution that enables liquidity to go out to suppliers to enable them to fund and to run their businesses. So that sounds great, and if you want to be a good corporate citizen, then it's a very worthy solution. But what's in it for large buying organizations? And there are a number of factors, but let's focus today on the cold, hard business case. So typically, what we will achieve by putting our solution in with a corporate is we will achieve between £1 and £3 million back on the bottom line for every £1 billion or euros or dollars of spend on a supply chain. So this is a real-life customer. This is TELUS, which is a Canadian telecoms company. They've been live with us since 2014. And within the space of the year, we've got them up and running, and they are now collecting over $1.2 million worth of discounts per year. This company is choosing to fund this program using their own cash because they are not working capital sensitive, not days payable outstanding sensitive. But if they were, they could equally run this program using third-party capital, thus protecting their working capital position. So TELUS is a really nice case study example. Let's pick the poster child. So the poster child that Taulia has been working with, I think, since 2010 is
11 we started.
2011.
2010, started 2011.
Is Pacific Gas and Electricity. So prior to Taulia being deployed, these guys were ticking along at sort of $1, $2, $4 million worth of discounts. After Taulia being deployed, over a 4-year period, these guys achieved $160 million, it's $167 million in discounts. So a very nice case study. Just to close, where next for Taulia? What we want to do is to continue to scale in the US, expand and grow in Europe, where we've been for the last 2 years, and in the next 12 to 24 months is to launch in APAC. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, can you tell me about your sales cycle? How long is your sales cycle process, and how you go about selling?
It's actually quite long, so that it also explains why. If you look at those brands, we cannot show them all because we have, I think, more than 80 customers already, but not all of them are live. We have 150 billion on the platform, but contractually signed actually is 350 billion already. So the sales cycle is 12 months plus X, usually.
Thank you, Matthew and Martin. you mentioned that one side of your formula is the enterprise, and you're doing a great job to show their value. Now, the other side of the formula are the suppliers, whether they're large, medium, or small. What is in for them? Why would I want to be a supplier and be part of your network?
Very good question, since they get more. So the offer has to be attractive, so the entire offer is free for suppliers. They do not pay for the platform for the usage of the service. Whatever they do, if they do electronic invoicing in any kind, if they do PO confirmation, but also if they do financing. The only thing they need to pay for is if they use financing, the financing itself, and that offer is something they can take or cannot take. It's up to the suppliers. They have the power to decide, and that has to be an attractive offer. It has to be cheaper than other sources of cash and funding.
I'll just want to quickly add to that, because if you look at something which I call e-invoicing 1.0, this is all about automation, and this tends to be buyer-led, internally focused. We want to save money, we want to make it fast, we want to get rid of paper. And all of those .1 solutions, they were all about charging the supplier for the privilege of submitting an invoice and the privilege of being on a network, which we would say is crazy. You know, the supplier has provided a completely valid service. This is just about getting money in. And so what we're saying within Taulia is that should absolutely be free to you. And not should that just be free to you, but you should be able to see where your invoice is. You should be able to see if it's in dispute. You should be able to see if it's ready for payment. And then, hey, guess what? Because this is about getting paid, how about you get paid earlier? That makes it extremely attractive for suppliers. And that means that the adoption rates move from about 20 to 24% where they are for e-invoicing today to our baseline is 60%, and we typically get 80 to 90% plus adoption, because this is all about getting paid. That's the rationale.
Great, thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.